G'day guys, this isn't a review as such. There might be a little bit of a review at the end, but this is just more of a chit chatter about. I had my phone briefly on data with my work sim, and I noticed that Tim Hardwick signed with GoldCoast, and I just thought I'd share my thoughts and opinions on that for a little bit of a different video. And I reckon good on him. Like, there's probably a lot of Richmond players like saying, "Oh, he left Richmond, he was never burnt out. This is like all orchestrated from the start, etc., etc." And look, very well may have been, but at the same time, I want to sort of like normalize this a little bit, where you might have a particular qualification, a particular trade, particular skill set in regards to work. Now, you could be somewhere, had really amazing success within that line of work, in terms of the projects that you've done, or the work that you've done, the money you've made, the individual or collective success of wherever you worked and the stuff that you've done. And you might just get burnt out from one factor or a whole heap of factors or whatever. So you find another job. Now, it might not necessarily be straight back within that field or skill set, but over time you might find you go back there, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. What do I think in terms of, him potentially, this was like all orchestrated in a sense? Well, I do believe he was burnt out, like from the video that I saw a couple of seconds of and then switched off, to where things were before I left for this trip, is he looks completely burnt out and stressed, and he probably takes pride in being a successful coach and having a successful side. Now, I don't think that's a coward's move in the line of AFL sport, because you've got to look at things in a bigger capacity. You can say that, oh, he wasn't loyal, whatever. They've had a downward year. All right. Now, he stays on, let's just say he stays on next year, and he decides to play some of his older players, trying to push for finals again or whatever, and he isn't quite there, then he's crucified for that. If he decides to bring in new blood straight away and have a few years that Hawthorn are currently having, full on, let's just strip everything away and start again, is you're probably looking at 5 years of nothingness. Now, if he's already burnt out and he's at the end of his tether, and let's just say 2 years into that, the club are jumping on the media merry-go-round of the pressure of, like, is Dimmer going to get sacked and da-da-da-da-da-da, is, if he jumped before he was pushed, it may have happened at the end of the year anyway, but let's just say it happened 2 years from now, 3 years from now. In sport, and I've sort of changed my tune a little bit as I've grown a little bit older and whatever, and had experiences and different things that have gone on, is that, everyone's quick to jump on a player or a coach for disloyalty, yet, a club at the drop of a hat can decide that, you're out the door. So if he thinks sort of there's a maybe 2-year window to maybe get them into, say, like a top 6 to top 8 side, and then another 2 to maybe become a top 4 and a premiership contender, that looks a lot more enticing for someone who's had some time away, who's been burnt out, that's come back. This is what we've got before you, as opposed to staying where you're burnt out and potentially getting sacked 2 years from now. So that's just my thoughts. And, you know, I think there's probably some Richmond supporters that maybe feel like he could have repaid some of that loyalty that they gave to him before they won their premierships the season prior. They were going to sack him, and the club and the board and everyone stood behind him, and obviously then they had that run of success. But at the same time, with the list changing and the landscape changing and a change in the list and premiership players retiring, it's very hard to sort of replicate that quickly, unless you get extremely lucky with trading players and maybe hitting the jackpot with a mid-range pick or whatever. But more often than not, you might find yourself struggling with where Richmond are and where they're going to go probably in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's not to say that they can't have success or that they won't be right up there, but there is a fair chance that sort of the wheel is turning, and they might have a period where, they wash away and sort of, you only need to look at West Coast. West Coast won one flag, and they're a no man's land at the bottom of the ladder. And it happens. And so I reckon good on you, Dimmer. I don't think you lost your passion for coaching. I just think that you're burnt out. You needed to remove yourself for a little while. And what I will say is, from that perspective, is how many people out there are burnt out from their job and they have 4 weeks, or 6 weeks leave, and then you do go back to your job, or you quit. In that 6 weeks, you find another job and you start there. Like, that's just life. It's life, and I reckon good on him. Anyway, we'll move on to these. If you made it this far, Arnott's Farm Bake, the taste of home peanut brownie. But yeah, I reckon good on him. Like, it's a ballsy move. It's a ballsy move to do what he did, because knowing that that's probably what was going to happen if he decided to take that Gold Coast job. They're really peanutty. I like them. This with a coffee in the morning or a cup of tea at night, you're laughing. I remember coaching juniors, and took a under 14s A grade side to a grand final. We won it against a team that we hadn't beaten all season, and there was, I think, 6 teams in our grade. So we played them a fair amount of times in grading, and then afterwards, and we had never beaten them. We ended up beating them in the grand final. I was coaching an under 18 side at the time as well. And I got knifed in the back. It wasn't the first time I got knifed in the back. I was playing with another club, and I reached out at the same time where I thought I was going to get knifed in the back. And I just said, I'm not expecting you to give me the one side because I'm coming across, but I'm wanting to change the scenery. I want to coach for another club. And subsequently had some success with that other club. Now, at the time, I was really wanting to continue to coach the same boys and build on what I knew that they were capable of, whatever. Funny enough, that team that I got shafted ended up losing every single game they played. And then a couple of seasons later, my new team that I had built for about 2 or 3 seasons with players that I used to coach or people that I knew through growing up or whatever, family members, family members of friends and that sort of stuff, was I built a really good side. And we ended up playing the team and the club and the person who shafted me, and they never beat us. They never beat us in like 3 seasons. We played them a fair amount of times and they never beat us. And that's where I sort of changed a little bit my mindset about players leaving because they can't get success, so they go somewhere else. Like LeBron James going to Miami, etc. I thought he was a bit of a coward for leaving Cleveland the way he did, but at the same time, you look at it from a bigger perspective, is when you got a team of Marshall and Larry Hughes and not a lot else, and they're not really trying to help you in any way, shape or form, and it's him trying to bring a team of no ones. Not to say that Larry Hughes wasn't a decent player or that Marshall wasn't a half decent player, but I don't think they ever really did anything to sort of give LeBron support. So I can kind of see why he left for Miami. I thought it was a dog move at the time, and I still thought it was a dog move, even though some of my ideas and thoughts had changed a little bit. But I did have mad respect for him going back to the Cavs and finishing off what he promised. But I've gone off a little bit of a tangent. But I brought up my basketball experience of coaching because, I reckon in two seasons or 2.5 seasons, Richmond are sacking Dimmer. It's that simple. Like, if in the next 2 seasons they win an average of 4 games, and he's already burnt out, but he wants to coach, but the pressure's on him or whatever, and they might be able to make an assistant or whatever take over, they're probably going to sack him in the end. So why not move before any of that happens, and you can keep your integrity intact, you can keep your mindset of not necessarily being like a winning coach, keeping that intact, but at the same time, like, if his want and need of wanting to be a coach is something that he wants to do for the next 5-10 years, but he ends up having like 4 or 5 bad years, and he really liked the window that was opening up at Gold Coast compared to maybe in the next 2 years where maybe he doesn't want to coach West Coast. Maybe North Melbourne don't get their shit together. Alistair Clarkson decides that there's too much going on behind the scenes, and he decides to, maybe he doesn't want to coach North Melbourne. And so, good on him. What do I think of these peanut brownie biscuits? Probably give them an 8.5. That'd be so much better with a coffee. Anyway, that's it for me.